Welcome back to my channel. Glad you can join me. Today I'm going to talk about the Nikon D500, but not as a photographic camera. We all know how good the Nikon D500 is at shooting landscapes, Astro, wildlife. It is built for photographing wildlife. The ability to shoot at 10 frames per second is just amazing. It has great dynamic range. Everyone knows how good this camera is. Today I'm going to talk about using the Nikon D500 as a video camera, which is very different to taking photos. I just want to share the 4 main points about what you should think about and what you should understand when using a digital SLR to take video. And this is relating specifically to the Nikon D500. It can also relate to other Nikon cameras like the D7500, but when we're talking about shooting in 1080p or in 4K, this just relates to the Nikon D500. The first is autofocus. Unlike mirrorless cameras, the Nikon D500 does not autofocus while we're taking videos. So it means that you have to set your focus point before you start recording the video. For me, when I do a talking head video like this, if I'm in my office using the Nikon D500, then I focus on my chair because I'm sitting only about 10 centimeters in front of the chair, and I've worked out that at f2.8 I'm in focus. If I'm out and about doing a talking head video like this, I will set the focus point on the tripod and set it to about f4 to give me enough depth of field to be around the tripod so that I'm in focus. Also, I don't need to have such a minimum focus. Sometimes I'll even shoot f5.6 or f6.3 if I want the people to see the background around me, if that's advantageous to the video. The next is sound. When we're taking photos, sound doesn't come into the equation, but when we're taking videos, sound is very important. You want your video to sound as clean as possible. There are 3 ways that you can record audio on your camera. We have the onboard microphone here. Now that really isn't an option really, because there is just so much ambient sound that can come through here. I'll start recording here. I'll just focus on here repeatedly. Can you hear that? That is the sound of the mic. Now I prefer to use either a shotgun microphone like is on the camera at the moment, or a wireless mic. The wireless mic is the best option because you're so close to it that you don't have too much ambient sound around you. But if I'm shooting a wildlife video, for example, I will go to Lake Eden and I want to get some of the ambient sound around me, the sounds of the wildlife, the ducks quacking and all that, then the shotgun microphone is great because I can choose either 90 degrees or 180. 180 is this far. 90 degrees comes out here. If I'm using just a talking head video and I'm using the shotgun microphone, then I'll set it 90. If I want as much sound as possible, then I will shoot using the shotgun microphone at 180, and just about all the sound that's around me will get picked up by the shotgun microphone. And in a minute, I'm going to put the camera on a tripod about the same distance as the Sony ZV-1 is to show you what the sound sounds like at around 1 meter from me. This is where a shotgun microphone lacks, because the further away you are from the camera, the more ambient sound you're going to pick up. The audio is being recorded from the shotgun microphone, and you can definitely hear the difference between when I was using the Sony ZV-1 with the cordless mic and the shotgun microphone. So we've got focus, we've got audio out of the way. The next is picture profiles. Now when we're shooting in RAW, picture profiles don't really worry us. When we're shooting JPEG, the picture profiles are quite important. I've done a video on this and I'll link it up here now just to give you an idea of what picture profiles are. Because if we're shooting in JPEG, picture profiles are important. For video, picture profiles are also very important because we have standard, we have landscape, we have vivid, we have portrait. We also have another profile called flat. Now flat is the one that you should use when we're shooting video. I don't like having a profile added to my video because I find that it might add a bit of contrast, it might add more saturation. So I shoot in the flat profile because it's just like shooting photos in RAW. When you go into your video editing program, I can add contrast, I can add a bit more saturation, I can adjust my white balance a little bit. The flat profile is very good. Another profile that I do use is the portrait. So if I'm outside shooting wildlife and all that, I will shoot in the portrait mode because it's just gives me a little bit more color, and most of the time those videos I can just put them straight onto social media. I can cut out all the bits that I want, but I don't have to edit the color space. If you don't want to worry about how the colors look and how to add a bit of contrast in your videos. So you either choose flat or portrait. I found these are the two profiles that I use. Next is white balance. Now when we're using the Nikon D500, the white balance is very important, and I'm just going to share a bit of video here with all the white balance settings to show you how important it is to choose your white balance properly. Last is the size of your video. We could shoot in 1080p or in 4K. When we take photos in 6:4 format. When we shoot video, we're shooting in 16:9. So it's more of a panoramic image. We cut out the top and the bottom. At 1080p, the Nikon D500 doesn't crop in from the sides at all. But in 4K, it crops in, and it crops in heavily. And this is the big problem with taking video with the Nikon D500. For me anyway, because all my videos are shot at 4K. That's the way I like doing. Even if I want to resample down to 1080p later, shooting in 4K gives me so much extra dynamic range, so much more information that the video at 1080p will look much better than if it was just shot at 1080p. Now I'm going to put the Nikon D500 on the tripod and show you how good the video is with the Nikon D500. Now this video that you're going to see is unedited. It's just straight off the camera. I don't want to show you what it would look like edited, because most people wouldn't put it into a video editing program and adjust the color space. So this video is being taken at 1080p. Here is a photo at the same focal length, 18mm from where the tripod is. You can see a lot more top and a lot more bottom. Now at 1080p, all it's done is just cut the top and bottom. Now this is what it would look like in 4K. So this is 4K. Can you see how much it's actually cropped in? So let's go back to 1080p. So this video is being taken at 1080p. Now back at 4K, can you see the difference? This is the only problem with shooting video with the Nikon D500. The biggest downside for me, even though I complain about the 4K, it's the autofocus. Because it can't continuously autofocus when it's in video mode, that's very limiting to what you can do. How good is it if I'm wanting to shoot wildlife? Well, last week I was at Lake Eden using my Nikon 70-300mm AFP lens to make sure that the VR, because this is the VR version of this lens, to make sure that the stability was quite good because it wasn't on a tripod, I kept the back button focus locked on. So it was tracking the bird, and because the focus was continuously focusing on the bird, the VR worked in as well. But most of the time, what I do recommend is that if you're using a digital SLR to record video, because it doesn't have IBIS, inbuilt stabilization, then it has to be on a tripod. The last thing you want is your video to be like this, very shaky. I suffer from the shake, so I'm even worse, and this is why I bought the Sony ZV-1, because it has inbuilt stabilization when I want to use it. Video work, you really need your camera, especially a digital SLR, on a tripod. Other things that you have to be concerned about is your shutter speed. When we're taking photos, shutter speed is just relevant to what we're taking photos of. If I'm taking birds in flight, my shutter speed could be 1/2000th of a second. When you're doing video, you only have two options. If your video is being recorded at 24 frames per second, then your shutter speed has to be twice your frame rate. So instead of 1/24th of a second, it's 1/48th. We don't have 1/48, we have 1/50th. So you would set your camera to 1/50th of a second if you're doing a video at 24 frames per second. I shoot all my videos in NTSC format. It's 30 frames per second. So my shutter speed for the camera is 1/60th. At the most, I will jump it up to 1/125th of a second because it's a multiple of 1/60th. I will not normally take it any higher than that. If it's too bright outside, then I will put an ND filter in front of the lens to bring the light meter down. If I'm shooting outside, I can shoot at around f5.6, and with an ND filter, I can get it down to that range. If I'm inside my office, I never have a problem because the room is much darker, so I can shoot at around f2.8, ISO around 5-600. I find the Nikon D500, just like taking photos, the ISO capability on it when shooting video is very good. So I just wanted to share just a few key points for people who are interested in taking video with their Nikon D500 because it's a great camera, both for taking photos and also for taking video. If 4K doesn't interest you, then 1080p gives you the same width as your photo. You just got to remember that you're cutting the top and the bottom. Now, if you found value in this video, give me a thumbs up. Stay safe, enjoy photography, and I'll see you next time.